And there they go. More Trojans into the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you're going to download your podcast, this show is free. I appreciate your support. You can show yours. If you're watching on YouTube, become a subscriber, smash that thumbs up button, and don't forget to hit that bell notification. That way you don't miss one episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Make no mistake, Lincoln Riley needs two more quarterbacks from the transfer portal. One, someone who isn't afraid of Miller Moss, and probably another preferred walk-on type of talent. Do you need a walk-on with 2 years of... If you're looking for a walk-on quarterback who has 2 years of experience under Lincoln Riley, well, guess what? He's leaving USC. Yeah, Isaac Ward. He's out there for the taking. He's jumping into the transfer portal. He's a 5'10" redshirt. He's going to be a redshirt senior. He's from Atlanta, Georgia, and I think he wants to play football because he's testing out the transfer portal. I think he knows that he wasn't going to play at USC. I think he knew that when he got to USC. So it's usually it's kind of odd, don't you think, for a walk-on to use the transfer portal? I don't know. Who knows what's up? Good luck to the young man wherever he lands. So all that's left right now on USC's roster is Miller Moss, which is a great place to start. We saw Jake Jensen pick up a big first down on a fourth down play. And you have another walk-on, Roy Gage. So I'll tell you what, you could check 1,000 bingo cards, and I promise you, no one had this combination. No one. I know I didn't. No one thought that Lincoln Riley's thinnest position group on the roster would be a quarterback. Now, obviously, numbers-wise, it's always going to have the smallest group. But right now, you've got two scholarship quarterbacks. One you probably never heard of before the Holiday Bowl. So, yeah, interesting. I mentioned the transfer portal's kind of sucking up a lot of Trojans. Well, USC's using the transfer portal too. Well, does anybody need an all Pac-12 conference wide receiver? Dorian Singer is available. Yeah, he jumped into the transfer portal. He did that on Wednesday, and he's joining what is that? Is he now the fourth wide receiver from USC's 2023 roster to jump on in? Mario Williams, Rayleigh Brown, Michael Jackson. Yeah, that's four. And then don't forget, you've got Taj Washington and Brendan Rice. They're going to the NFL. That's six wide receivers from USC's 2023 roster. Donzo. What's interesting about Dorian Singer, remember, when he came to USC, he was a 1,000-yard wide receiver coming from Arizona. All Pac-12 conference, first team. He ended up in his one season at USC with 24 catches, 289 yards with 3 touchdowns. It's not like he didn't see the field at USC. He was part of the regular rotation. In fact, he finished with the third most snaps at wide receiver at USC in 2023. Let me put his numbers into context because this is really going to smack home, and I think this is why he jumped out, why he got into the transfer portal. Against USC in 2022, he caught 7 passes for 141 yards, 3 touchdowns. That was one game. I mean, remember, he single-handedly almost beat USC. In 2023, 24 catches, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. I think you can understand why he's probably not happy staying in LA. So he went from, like I said, he went from a walk. Remember, he was a walk-on when he arrived at Arizona. He had no scholarship offers. He ended up becoming an all Pac-12, and he's leaving USC. And I don't want to call him an also-ran, but talk about going from rags to riches back to rags. Kind of feels that way. I mentioned the term the transfer portal vortex Wednesday. Talked about Dorian Singer. Talked about the quarterback Isaac Ward. Guess what? Wasn't done. How about fourth-year offensive lineman Andres DeWork? Remember him? Probably not. He hasn't played a lot since he's been at USC. Well, 6'7", 330 pounds. He's got the size, right? He was one of the bigger guys in that 2020 recruiting class. He's actually saw time in 3 games this year. The San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, those 3 blowout games. His only other time he played while he was at USC was against Colorado in 2022. And again, that was limited as well. So if you want to know why Lincoln Riley and Josh Henson have been stacking back-to-back classes with offensive linemen, 10 in the last 2, going back to that 2020 recruiting class, there was 12 total recruits in the class. 6 of them were on the offensive line. All of them, well, I shouldn't say all, 5 out of the 6 have left USC through the transfer portal. Jonah Monheim is the only survivor on the island. So this year you had Andrew Malek and Andres DeWork. Last year you had Cortland Ford. Before that you had Casey Collier. I mean, he dipped out before he even practiced, it felt like. Caden Stephen, remember him? Kind of got lost in the weeds somewhere, disappeared. What happened? I mentioned a class, that 2020 class, 12 total recruits. Think about this. Only Jonah of the offensive linemen. Tuiapolotu, he was a member of that class. He's already rocking it in the NFL. That's it. One more player, shouldn't forget. Kobe Pepe. Don't forget, he actually did the hokey pokey with the transfer portal. Put his foot in, took it back out. He stayed at USC. That paid off for him. His perseverance got him in the game during the Holiday Bowl, and it wasn't at the end. He played beginning, middle, and end. So we'll see what happens. Is he going to be part of the roster in 2024? We'll see. But that is what you call a terrible return on your investment. I mean, Cortland Ford, he started for a couple of years, so it's not a total loss there. But that's it. USC had to use the portal to, there's been successes. Like I said, USC, they've used the transfer portal. And I think most of it's been to their benefit. I mean, you've had Caleb Williams, obviously, Travis Dye, Austin Jones, Marshawn Lloyd. Running back, they've done extremely well. Can't do any better than Caleb Williams at quarterback. Jordan Addison, Mekhi Blackman, Eric Gentry, Bear Alexander, Christian Roland Wallace. There's others. And there's going to be others this spring as well. Transferring in, transferring out. This is who USC has added so far using the transfer portal this season. You've got wide receiver Jaden Richardson, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's at Tufts University, Division III. I went and checked out some of his highlights. Dude can play. It was a good pickup. We already know about Kamari Ramsey, the safety from UCLA. You've got the cornerback, John Humphrey from UCLA. And then you also brought in 2 players from Mississippi State, cornerback DeCarlos Nicholson and his teammate running back, Quavius Woody Marks. I promise myself, Woody. So January, look, it's off to a fast start. How many more will come and go before the month ends using the transfer portal? Remember, 85 is the roster, is the maximum number of scholarships you can have on your roster. I think USC right now, I'm not sure, 80 or 81, and that includes the recruits who are on the way. Personally, my opinion, I think USC is going to get another impact player through the transfer portal this month. I don't know anything. It's just kind of just throwing it out there, see if it sticks. And I definitely think they're going to get another one before the end of spring camp, or before the end of spring, before they go into the PRPs, player run practices, going into summer. Here's the thing, though. That transfer portal, it's a trap. You got to be careful with this thing. A lot of players jumping in from USC. I think everybody from USC who's gone in, save for maybe a couple of the offensive linemen, there's going to be a lot of guys out there without homes. They're going in looking for greener, for greener pastures. That transfer portal is overflowing with players. I'm interested to see what happens with that. Hopefully, and again, I'm a big proponent of it, but I think there's got to be some guardrails put in. Figure this thing out. I don't like when it's being used during the recruiting season, during the early signing period. Got to get rid of that. Find some different windows for this thing. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing a lot of really good head coaches from the college ranks up to the NFL. They don't want to deal with this crap. Trojan fans, hey, stop stressing out trying to get tickets. Download the Game Time app with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. Trojan fans, football season is done, but Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. So you want to go watch the basketball team? They're playing Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock versus Stanford. You want to check out Bronny James, Boogie Ellis? Check out the Game Time app. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 100% of the difference. That means they guarantee you the best price. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. And you can get images of your tickets before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And you're going to buy your tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're done. They send the tickets to your phone, not your email. That way you're not going to have to go searching for them. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel. I know Caleb Williams is not coming back. Well, I'm 99% sure he's not coming back. I'm going to leave that 1% open. I need to leave some room just in case, because nothing's guaranteed in life, right? Death and taxes, that's it. And the reason why I'm saying 99% is because he has to make it official. And he hasn't. Look, he didn't play in the bowl game. He didn't talk after the loss to UCLA. He's been seen around town. It's not like he's just hiding. He's gone incognito. I saw him and Gavin taking selfies together. I don't know if it was a Chargers game or a Rams game. It was at SoFi. I was all over social media. I saw him at the Holiday Bowl. I'm sure you guys saw him on TV too if you weren't at the game. He had his number 13 jersey kind of wrapped around his neck, not completely on. we saw him after the game. He was congratulating Miller Moss and that 6-touchdown performance from USC's new quarterback one. So that's basically been Caleb Williams' timeline since the end of the regular season. My everyday Locked On listeners, you heard me ask on yesterday's episode, in fact, why is Caleb Williams delaying the inevitable? Why hasn't he made it official? By the way, I am not the only one in the media who is sort of curious about this as well. I talked with a few of my peers at the men's basketball game at Galen Center Wednesday night. Oh, by the way, the men, they won. They beat Cal 82-74. I'm going to talk about that in the next segment. But quickly, the Caleb Williams countdown to declare watch, it continues. As of today, if you're watching this episode of Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, on Thursday morning, there's 11 days left for Caleb to make his intentions official. January 15th is the last day you can declare for the NFL draft. So why the delay? Could he come back? Would he? Should he? That's the questions I posed on yesterday's show. Told you we're going to talk about that today. As far as could he come back? If he doesn't like where he's anticipated to be slotted in the NFL draft and USC's NIL package was up there enough, quote, he could come back, finger quotes. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, right? Would he come back? Again, I think it has everything to do with what I just said. Look, he can still improve his game. There's still parts of his game that he can improve upon, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. Because for as much as what Caleb can do on the field, I think he still needs to stay within the structure of the offense, right? Stop coloring outside of the lines so much. Here's what I'm trying to say. Unless the play that was called by your head coach, Lincoln Riley, your play caller, unless that breaks down, try and be more like Miller Moss. Be more quarterbacky. And I know that's a hot button right now. Here's my definition of quarterbacking. It's stop trying to hit the home run. Stop trying to keep the play alive, waiting for a receiver to get open downfield. I'm not talking about stop running, stop taking off. I would never tell Caleb to do that. I would like to see him maybe do more of that. Look, there's been a lot of conjecture that Caleb wanted to call his own plays, and way too many times this past season. But look, there's not a whole lot more he needs to prove at the college level, right? Right? With that said, he doesn't have any rings, no championships. He does have the Heisman. But look, if we're weighing the risk versus reward, Lloyd's of London, it's going to be a really expensive insurance policy. And you got to anticipate that he's going to have to make at least $10 million plus to stay one more season at USC. That would have me considering staying. Someone said, hey, Mark, we're going to insure your game, and we're going to make sure you're going to make at least $10 million. Would you consider? I'd say, yeah, I'd consider it. The only question of the could he, would he, should he trinity, we'll call it that, that matters is that last part, the should he. Should he come back for one more year? If you're Miller Moss, you're probably saying NFL, right? Look, if the only reason you're returning is because you don't like your draft position, I say suck it up. Deal with it. Put on your big boy pants. Don't be an Eli Manning. It worked. Look, Eli had a really good NFL career. Hall of Famer, won a couple Super Bowls. It worked out for him. I'm not a fan of that. Look, you're going to be drafted pretty highly, whether it's the number 1 overall. You're going to be within the top 10. And I think most anticipate top 5. I know this is going to cause a civil war, this next statement, but for me, once Caleb chose to opt out of the bowl game, his time as USC's leader is over. Yeah. Time to turn in your sword, so to speak. Hand that baton over to Miller Moss. You can't just, say, finger quotes again, just kidding, I'm coming back. You can't do that. Miller, look, that performance, and well before that performance, leading up to it, everything that took place up to that Holiday Bowl, he won over his teammates. He's got the locker room behind him now. He's got everybody's confidence. So I don't think you want to make guys pick a side, so to speak. So it's going back, causing a civil war. I've seen this happen before. It's kind of like when your parents are fighting and they use the kids as a wedge. Go ahead, tell your dad, tell your mom who you'd rather live with. I know it's maybe a crappy analogy to use, but at this point, I think that it's Miller's team. Obviously, if Caleb Williams comes back, you're not going to say, no, you can't. But if I'm Miller Moss, I'm out of here, right? Because this is all moot. He's not coming back. But if he did, and my name is Miller Moss, I'm saying, sorry, I'm out of here. I got to do what's best for me. I love USC. I want to be the team player. But no, I'm not going to. I can't wait anymore. My stock is as high as it's going to be. And with Will Howard, by the way, he's visiting Ohio State for the next couple of days. Yeah, he's on that official visit. I'll tell you what, whatever he gets, assuming he's going to sign with Ohio State, I think he owes Miller Moss 10% of that NIL package because he's getting a raise. So let's get back to it. Why is Caleb Williams waiting so long? What's the benefit? Why not just get the formal thank you and the goodbye out of the way to USC and say, I'm going to the NFL? I don't know. It's just weird the way this whole thing's kind of playing out. So here's my question at the end of this segment. Would you take Caleb Williams back after he opted out of the bowl game? And again, this is a caveat. If his only reason is he doesn't like where he's going to be drafted. Instead of being number 1, he's going to be number 5, number 6, or the Chicago Bears or the Arizona Cardinals want to draft him. I think we've heard, that those aren't the places he'd like to land. You know where the comment section is. Hit me up. Tell me how you feel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, if you're a new customer, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Their app is so easy to use, and there are tons of ways you can bet. Like they've got same game parlays. You can find bets in their new Explore tab. You want to make a parlay in the Parlay Hub? Go check that out. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an easy score. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. All right, so the men's hoop team, they're back at home. They were looking to end that losing streak they were on. They did it. They beat the Cal Berkeley Bears 82-74. By the way, the USC still has to travel up to the Bay Area later this season, but USC and Cal have played each other the most in their during their time together in the Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8, and whatever it was before that. Cal now leads the series at 136-134 after USC won this game. So, Cal Bears, who, by the way, their head coach, Mark Madsen, former Stanford player, I think he's got that program heading in the right direction. They play hard. They're losing a lot of close games. Again, another game they lost by less than double digits. They're going through that learning curve right now. USC, your team, they're 7-7. They're 1-2 in conference now. And they're going to host that Stanford team on Saturday afternoon. 1 o'clock, Galen Center. Get your tickets at game time if you haven't already got your tickets. By the way, Stanford, yeah, they've got a couple of really good wins on their resume. If you weren't aware, they beat Arizona at home last week. They beat UCLA in Pauley Pavilion on the same night that USC beat Cal. Just saying. What I am saying is USC needs to start a run. They need to start a winning streak. And if they want to give themselves a chance to play in the postseason, and I'm not talking about the NIT, I'm talking about the big tournament, the field of 68. They got to start a run. USC, they were playing Cal. By the way, USC and the Bears, two of the worst passing teams in the conference. So guess what happened? Of course, USC almost tied the program record. They had 29 assists in the game, one shy of hitting that 30, which would have, again, tied the program record all time. The Trojans defense, which has been a staple of Andy Enfield's teams, it's been MIA lately. Well, much, much, much better effort at home against Cal. And you could tell right off the bat. I think the first TV timeout came around, even though USC led 8-6, you could just feel, you could sense they had better energy. And they were also shooting the ball better. They were 4 for 5 from the field. I think it was either Isaiah Collier or Kobe Johnson was the only one who missed a shot. They had 2 turnovers by the first TV timeout, which isn't always a good sign. But again, they finished with 29 assists. They also only had 13 total turnovers for the game. So that is an improvement. I mentioned Kobe Johnson. He had a terrible month of December, especially shooting the ball. He was turning the ball over. I think he had both turnovers to start the game as well. Rough first half, 0 points. He bounced back in the second half. He found his mojo. He finished with 14 points. He was 3 for 4 from the 3-point line. Really solid second half, and it was the defense that got him going. Isaiah Collier, freshman point guard, the number 1 player in the country when he arrived at USC. I think he had his best game of the season. 7 assists, no turnovers. He also ended up scoring in double digits. USC had 5 players scoring in double figures. Boogie Ellis led the team with 15 points. I asked Isaiah Collier after the game. He and Kobe spoke with the media after. I asked him, I said, what's been the hardest part about learning to play point guard at this level? And his answer was pretty simple. He said, making the simple play. Said, okay, makes sense. I agree. So you'll wonder, why is making the simple play so hard? Because he's a superstar player, and superstar players think that they can score every time they have the ball. Tonight, he looked like he was playing within the structure of the offense. Speaking of structured, Bronny James, he is a glue guy, a team player on a team full of me first type of guys. I think this was his best game of the season. 10 points, 3 assists, and here was what's probably the most important part. He's still on a schedule as far as how many minutes he can play per game, but he was on the floor at the end of the game during crunch time, and he was making the free throws. I mentioned Boogie Ellis had 15 points to lead the team. He also missed a couple of front ends, the front end of one-on-one one-and-ones at the end of the game, and that actually could have been detrimental had Cal made those shots when they had the opportunity. Fortunately, USC got the rebound, and like I said, Bronny James made his free throws. So here's the thing with USC. It's the little things that is keeping this team from excelling, getting better as they go along. Here's a perfect example. It was on a hustle play. DJ Rodman followed up the missed shot, got the offensive rebound in the corner, and instead of kicking the ball back out and resetting the offense, he just jacked up an ill-advised three-pointer. It's those types of things that keep the team from taking the next step. Like, they had a much better second half than their first half. They got out. They started with an 8-2 run on the scoring. They led most of the second half by 11 points. But again, near the end, Cal was making some threes. It got down to 4 points. And that's when you need to make the free throws. So again, is it a great win? No. Is it a solid win? You needed it. And now you want to build off of it. Take the baby step. Beat Stanford. That's going to help USC. Because Stanford's got some good wins now on their resume. They beat Arizona. They beat UCLA. USC needs this win Saturday at home. Then they'll finish up the homes. Their what do you call it? The homestand. They have Washington State next Wednesday, and then they hit the road again. So they need to get these wins because, as I mentioned before, I don't know if this team has 14 wins in them throughout the course of their conference schedule. That's just to get them to 20. I think they have to win the Pac-12 tournament just to get into the NCAA this year. We'll see. I could be wrong. I want to be wrong. All right, I'll be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. That's what we do 5 times a week. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.
You are Locked on.
Not do that.